Alright, there we go. What's going on, guys? Alright, so we're gonna do another chapter today. And it shouldn't take longer than like 35 minutes. But Asar, I'm not quite sure what you mean by he's taking an entire hour of reading this. It doesn't take an entire hour. Yeah, I can't wait until I see Spike's face. This guy, I'm done. Let's see. Let me just use up my tickets. I don't want to waste I don't like wasting tickets. Yeah, and I'll do it on this. How you doing, Anas? Zero? VG, how y'all doing? Alright, this is part 3, chapter 2. Alright, Translators Note. When this third part was released on the BLEACH Jump Plus app, Narita tweeted that the main house was written in place of branch house in one line. I've spotted that line and made those amendments in my translation below already. He apologized for any confusion and has stated this will be corrected in the printed book version. Also, sorry this is really late, I got super busy again, but I thought I should finish this translation up now since the next part comes out at midnight tonight on the app. Very long chapter, by the way. Okay, so this might take a little longer. I'm good, man. I made a poll on whether to get Dragon Quest XI or Ni no Kuni 2, and Dragon Quest XI won by I think like 10 to 20% more. But I just found out, like, literally today, Ni no Kuni went on sale, so it was $20. So I picked it up for like 23 bucks. So I'm gonna be playing Ni no Kuni 2. That's gonna be the next game we stream until something. I don't know what else comes out in the next like month. And I'm not really picking up Red Dead. I'm not picking up Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed goes on sale for half off on Black Friday every single year. So it's literally a waste of money to pick that game up on launch. Hey Chin, how you doing, man? Alright, so let's continue. How you doing, Sean? I have to read 2 books and do a project on each of them, plus I can also do geometry. Okay, I see. That is part 2. Dot prop, by the way, all of these recordings are being uploaded and they're put into Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, feel free. I believe you're in it. At least I think you're in it. Let me see. I kind of killed the Discord. Yeah, like I have it over here, novel readings, scan for your own world. I have everything uploaded, that way it's available. Right now I have it unlisted, and I also put it in my community post in case communism, oh no. Here we go. And I also have it in the community post, that way people can watch it regardless. But I don't have it public because Shuhei will probably copy strike the shit out of me, and I'm really not trying to get copyright strike, you know what I'm saying? So regardless, we're gonna start. And like normal, we're gonna finish reading it, and then we'll converse after. Hopefully the music's not too loud, and let's begin. All right, chapter 2. Several days later, Rukongai. Now this is several days after Hikone and Tsuneyashiro Takinomine? I forget his name already. Feels bad, man. He has such a strange name. Alright, several days later. Hisagi Shuhei is engaged in 2 different occupations at the same time. One of those occupations is his professional duties as Squad 9 Vice Captain, which everyone knows. The other is being the editor-in-chief of the Serite Communications. The Serite Communication is a public institution magazine that is occasionally circulated throughout Serite and as far as some parts of Rukongai. It is basically under the management of the 9th Division. Naturally, it ought to be treated as equal occupations, but because the nature of the work differs too greatly from primary Shinigami duties, it was in effect perceived by society as something akin to a side job. As far as several hundred years ago, something known as tile block print was used to conveniently issue proclamations to the general public. But from the period when Kaname became captain, that format rapidly developed in accordance with printing techniques of the human world. Due to Kaname's serious disposition, the captain himself began serving as an editor. It was now being spread throughout the Serite as one large informational magazine, published with many running stories, or essays and novels and so forth, penned by the captains themselves. After Tosen left Soul Society, Hisagi, who was his vice captain, became responsible for that role. Although the original captain, Mugurama Kensei, had made a comeback and was supposed to become editor-in-chief, the man himself entrusted all the decision-making up to Shuhei, saying, "During my time, I left it up to the troops. Frankly, it just doesn't suit me." Even now, Shuhei had continued editorial duties as the responsible editor. So, the Sarate Communications editor-in-chief Sama has gone to all this trouble. What can he possibly want with me? The quizzical voice of a woman resounded from the doorway of a certain residence. "I'm collecting information for an article, of course." The other party whom Shuhei replied to is the pyrotechnician, Kukaku Shiba. It can be said that she is It can be said that she is person of clear influence within the vast expanse of Rukongai. Oh, let me see this. Sarate Bulletin. No, after the Quincy War, but before the 10-year time skip. Okay. Tokinada, shake my... Hey, man. Tokinada Suna Yashiro. Like, Suna Yashiro Masama. Like, Toki Doki no Literature Club. I can't do this, man. Give me a break, alright? Give me a break. Alright, continuing. The other party to whom Shuhei replied to is... we already read this. It can be said that she is a person of clear influence within the vast expanse of Rukongai. What is it? Is it my new object darts? Object darts? I give up. Jeez, it's not an exhibition, you know. With a boastful expression that was contradictory to her words, she shifted her attention to the item of artwork. Stone statues holding up a banner which Shuhei had just passed under a moment ago. Two huge statues imitating stern-looking men stood beside each other while striking an odd pose. Printed on the other banner were the mere words, "Welcome to Shiba Kukaku's residence." No, well, it would certainly become a popular topic of conversation in some places. Then, is it about the front cover of the next issue of the Sarate Communication? I've more or less prepared for that already. Shuhei had responded with a rather innocuous reply in order to half-dodge the real issue at hand, which he had to broach. "I would like Kukaku-san's cooperation in documenting the memoirs of the protection of the Soul King Great War." Huh? Memoirs? It's not yet past half a year since then, you know. That's precisely why. I want to keep accurate records without any delay. Shiba Kukaku is both a pyrotechnist at the surface as well as behind the scenes. All involvement with the Zero Division was declared side jobs. Therefore, Hisagi, the 9th Division's vice captain, approaches on that standpoint. But there is a curious big shot-like air about Kukaku. The attitude of many of the vice captains was that of respect towards her. In fact, although they are currently a fallen house, the Shiba clan is a respectable family that once produced a number of seated officers and captain ranks. They were a family of good social standing to the degree that they were named as one of the 5 great noble clans alongside the Kuchiki and Shihoin clans. In other words, Shiba Kukaku herself, who is standing before him, is also a considerably powerful person. He had heard that she defeated one of the fierce gatekeepers of the Sarate with Kido alone. In Hisagi's eyes, she wasn't merely a pyrotechnician. He believes Soul Society are seemingly unaware of the extent of her power. Such a visit to her is for the purpose of collecting information for the Sarate Communication, exactly as he stated. Although Sarate Communication has currently suspended publication due to problems with its publishing systems, a small circulation of a simplified version is being distributed in various places in order to extensively report on the state of post-war reconstruction to the general public. With the target of officially getting it back into print on the first anniversary of the post-war period, it was gradually gaining a secure foothold. Then, as hope for the highly anticipated first reissue, he started receiving requests from many readers asking for details regarding the protection of the Soul King Great War, to be addressed in his own segment called Teach Me, Shuhei Sensei. That sounds like the beginning to a great hentai. Teach Me, Shuhei Sensei has featured in Sarate Communication for a long time. It is a page where Shuhei answers the questions of the readers. However, its popularity is shaky, and although it may be revived whenever there is a demand, it is an unstable project that is often discontinued after only a few runs since its resumption. Yet the people of the Sarate still cannot grasp the complete picture of the war. It seems they are either caught up in anxiety over whether the war had truly ended, or whether such things would really never happen again. A section in this public magazine, Sarate Communications, seeks to dispel those fears. In truth, although there were many opinions, and an explanation of the whole story of the war was wanted in the magazine itself, not just limited to Teach Me Shuhei-sama, Shuhei decided to treat those all as requests in his own segment. This is a huge task imposed upon the Sarate Communication. It couldn't be left entirely up to the ordinary squad members. In accordance with the first reissue of Sarate Communication, Teach Me oh my goodness, I'm just calling Teach Me Please. I'm just gonna call it that. Will make a comeback in the form of a series. It is he who must clutch the reins of information himself. With such enthusiasm, Shuhei set out every day running around interviewing the likes of the Visuals Department, the Department of Research and Development, and the 4th Division Special Relief Squad. But just as he had expected, he was not gathering enough information. It seems there was virtually no one amongst those people who were able to observe the entirety of the war from a bird's eye view. Really, how many people's stories would he have to put together before getting any closer to that domain? Such misgivings crossed Shuhei's mind for a moment. The man who had the most extensive view of the battlefield, Yua, had already been subdued at the hands of Kurosaki Ichigo. If that's the case, then he has no choice but to proceed forward on his own feet to pick up and assemble the pieces of the war. If it could be spread far and wide, how the Shinigami battled and triumphed in various places, then it's bound to become hope for the people who are dealing with the restoration efforts. Now, Soul Society has stepped into what has become a new battle called post-war recovery. Because it is such a time, the people can only reassure themselves from seeking information. In other words, from here, it is a battle that only I can describe. In response to Shuhei having explained the situation, Kukaku fired herself up and folded her arms as she always does, and replied, "But I'm hardly able to speak of such things, you know, since I merely launched up the Zero Squad bunch and Ichigo's group. It is the rough tone of a strong-willed woman, but it is wondrous a voice that penetrates one's core." From that alone, Shuhei somehow concluded, I guess there really isn't much to talk about here. Rather than being unwilling to speak of the past, saying, "I did what I had to do," only brings about a mood like accepting everything as part of everyday life. Well, I guess I'll just be giving you my greetings for today. I'll visit another time. It's nothing but trouble however often you may come here, since I tend to pull a muscle whenever you lot complain to me about your Shinigami squabbles. If you want a story, ask my younger brother Ganju. That guy marched up to the Soul King Palace with Ichigo and his gang. I suppose you can talk to him. To the Soul King Palace? Speaking of Shiba Ganju, he is the man who once appeared as Ryoka, along with Ichigo and the others during the time of Kuchiki Rukia's execution scandal. Why did a man from Rukongai go up to the Soul King's palace? Having been decommissioned from the front lines at the final stage of the war, this is the first time Shuhei has heard of this fact. Come to think of it, I still haven't covered what happened around Kurosaki and his group. Naturally, he should interview Ichigo's group, who were the most deeply involved by the end of the war. However, they are inhabitants of the human world, not Soul Society. In order to travel expressly to the human world for interviews, he must obtain the permission of the Captain Commander. I think I'll be able to receive the Captain Commander's permission, but I wonder if Kurosaki will give his full cooperation in the first place. I can't see that guy talking about himself in much detail at all. As he considered asking Orihime and Chad, if need be, both of whom apparently reside in Ichigo's neighborhood, Shuhei decided to postpone that for the time being in favor of the Shiba household. I understand. I will listen to your younger brother's story after all. Alright, if you want Ganju, he's probably mounted on his wild boar wandering around West Rukongai again. If you look for him correctly, I think you could find him right away. He's a noisy asshole, so you should be able to recognize him with a single glance. Right, it's okay though. I've caught sight of his face now and then whenever a disturbance occurred. Okay, well then. Following the advice on his dynamic manhunt, Hisagi bows to Kukaku before leaving behind the house with the fireworks launch pad attached to it. Then, when he came closer to his vehicle, which was parked a little further up the roadside, Shuhei noticed something. A few men had gathered around that vehicle, which Shuhei had gone to the trouble of ordering from the human world Reishified? Those men appeared unlikely to be ordinary citizens of Rukongai. On top of that, the nature of the Reiatsu that dwells within them is different to that of Shinigamis or Quincy's. What? Why is there a Kawasaki Z2 in a place like this? At the words of the man who had swept back that extended hair around his shoulders, the tall figure of the young man who was beside him shrugged. Who knows? Before the men's eyes, there is a human world motorbike characterized by its deep crimson artwork. Paintwork, excuse me. They had themselves died and come to Rukongai, where they had grown accustomed to the presence of the surrounding standards of culture said to range from the Heian era to the Edo period. Because there was no big cultural reformation in comparison to the human world, there are many things that make you feel that antiquity, from the clothings to the buildings, and since coming to Soul Society, they have never seen this sort of automobile until this very moment. Then, standing behind them, a gentleman-like fellow with a black eye patch that covered his right eye stared at that motorbike with great interest as he opened his mouth to speak. Regardless of whether we are full-bringers who can manipulate the souls of matter, things that can be brought to this place through Konso are only the clothes and articles that can be said to be part of our person. Although, perhaps there is someone who loved two-wheeled vehicles at a level that can only be described as unity of rider and horse. Yeah, and what about such things as gasoline? Well, it's said that Soul Society basically does not produce oil. It seems most of whatever becomes fuel will instead be sent around to the technological department and nobles of the Serite. So does that mean this motorbike's some noble's plaything? Listening to the young man talk about the aspect of Soul Society, the man with the swept black hair frowned ever so slightly. From behind him, words that denied such speculation was thrown out to them. I saved up my wages to buy that thing. Well, as far as it being a plaything, however. Turning to look in Shuhei's direction, the newcomer that had just appeared, the man with the swept black hair narrowed his eyes in a smiling expression. Oh, if I came to think that I had heard the sound of a rare motorbike here, I'd never expect to come face to face with a Shinigami as a result. Observing the face of the man who had turned to look at him, Shuhei knit his eyebrows in unease. That face matched well with the personal description that had circulated amongst the Gotei 13 many times prior as a dangerous character that kills Shinigami. Hisagi had never seen him personally, but his corpse, after being defeated by Ichigo in the human world, happened to exist in Soul Society. Ginjo Kugo, the man who was the first substitute Shinigami, then was later estranged, a man who pursued and slaughtered a number of Shinigami. That corpse was buried in the human world at the request of Ichigo, but naturally, souls are a different story. Since they were also human beings who lived in the human world, their souls which had slipped out of their dead bodies had drifted up into Rukongai. Oh my, this is an honor. They say a guy who wears the vice captain's armband is a famous face. Shuhei's shihakusho is sleeveless, but when going out to a public place, he fastens his armband, putting it on display around his exposed arm. Ginjo looks at the armband while smiling daringly. In response to this, Hisagi speaks in a lowered voice. I've heard rumors that you didn't fall into the depths of hell. What are you doing in a place like this? Dear me, you shouldn't glare like that on our first meeting, don't you agree? Have I done something to you? Playing dumb all of a sudden. Don't tell me you've forgotten what you did to Shinigami and Ichigo. As his eyes narrowed, Hisagi fixed a glare at the man who was once a substitute Shinigami. Then, Ginjo also narrows his eyes once more, smiling fearlessly in Shuhei's direction. So what? You mean to say I should get down on my knees and apologize? For your information, I have no obligation to Kurosaki Ichigo, but I've never planned on becoming a friend of you Shinigami lot. I don't regret being turned into their enemy. Dear me, what are you planning? What, does it look like I'm planning something? If that's the case, what are you gonna do to me? Ginjo laughed scornfully. At the same time, the tall young man who was once standing next to him closed the book he was holding and took out a bookmark from its crevice. Stop it, Sugishima. Are you sure? But he looks like he's gonna stab him any minute now. The man who called Tsukishima spoke with a cool facial expression. Hearing that name, Shuhei tightens his guard even more. Tsukishima. If I'm not mistaken, you were the asshole that messed up Kurosaki's past. Tsukishima looked at Shuhei, expressing a cynical smile. That's a cruel manner of speaking. The past of the person himself hasn't changed. Yes, the last time I merely took care of his sword a little. Unable to comprehend the meaning of Tsukishima's words, Hisagi looked at him in puzzlement. The gentleman with the eye patch who had observed the situation let out a sigh. Whilst opening his mouth to speak. Sorry guys, I'm actually extremely exhausted. I've been working since 7 a.m. and it's 5:20 p.m. now. Where were we? Let's see. The gentleman with the eye patch who had observed the situation let out a sigh whilst opening his mouth to speak. Ginjo-san. It appears he has no knowledge of the fact that you two assisted Kurosaki Ichigo. You assisted? That reminds me. I get the feeling that Renji said something along the lines of, there was an unexpected helping hand. Should I have interviewed the others first? For the past 6 months, Hisagi had come to work his fingers to the bone as acting captain of the 9th Division in exchange for Kensei, who was undergoing medical treatment for his zombified state. Therefore, until Kensei returned, he couldn't get around to conducting detailed interviews. Ginjo looked bored as he spoke to the gentleman with the eye patch. Assisting him was no big deal. I only paid back a small debt. Watching the 3 people who remained chatting as they displayed placidity, Shuhei thinks, can I win against these 3 guys? Alone? I don't know this eye patch guy, but he's probably Ginjo's comrade. I'm not sure about his abilities, although considering other stories I've heard from Ikaku and Captain Toshiro, he had heard rumors that Zaraki Kenpachi cut down his opponents with a single strike. Could they possibly be speaking about this man? Shuhei thought as such, but he is not stupid enough to conclude that this man was weak just because Kenpachi defeated him with 1 blow. Because Hisagi knows well that there is not much difference between a wolf and a puppy in the presence of Kenpachi. I like that line. However, what was before his very eyes is the enemy who once butchered members of the Gotei 13. Apparently, Kurosaki Ichigo seems to have forgiven them, but this is a different story. As a Shinigami, this is by no means an opponent he can overlook. Having concluded that, Hisagi decided to first of all keep the opponent talking whilst keeping his guard up in order to probe into their intentions. The Shinigami, Jushiro-san, why did you betray them? Then the darkness that was dwelling at the back of Ginjo's eyes for a moment faded away. He opened his mouth to speak as surprise and disgust intermingled on his face. What a surprise. A Shinigami would ask me that now after such a long time. Well, if I remember correctly, I heard that Captain Jushiro used a substitute badge to monitor you. Was that alone enough to turn every member of the Gotei 13 into an enemy? Surely unpleasant, but it's merely a matter of protesting against Jushiro-san once you've noticed it, huh? Once I've noticed it? As Ginjo murmured that he went silent for a short while. In the next instant, he broke out into a laugh as if he had just witnessed a humorous circus trick. Is that so? I must be a fool for not seeing it. Does that mean even at vice captain level, your awareness is only to such an extent? What are you talking about? You don't understand anything at all. His smile disappeared, and he began fiddling with the cross-shaped pendant that was suspended over his chest. Hisagi sensed some unpleasant reiatsu fluctuating in that pendant. Taking a step back, Shuhei reached his hand to his own zanpakuto. As they maintained their distance from each other, the air of an explosive situation fills the surroundings. In the next moment, the atmosphere was shattered to pieces by the squeals of a beast and the trembling of the ground. Turning their attention to the squeals, a huge wild boar as big as a K-car came careening from the direction of a neighboring village and plunging in between Hisagi and Ginjo's group, who were opposite each other. The wild boar rapidly eased up on its speed in front of them, and as a result, he, who was riding on the back of the boar, was thrust headfirst into grassland between Hisagi and Ginjo. The man who had crashed into the ground whilst comically shrieking stood up as he remained unsteady on his feet. He then gave a firm thumbs up towards the boar he was riding, raising his voice at the same time. Great! Yo, your style's so cool, Bonnie-chan! As if ignoring the man who had just spoken, the wild boar galloped away in the opposite direction with the momentum that was as swift as the wind, with Shuhei watching the sudden comedy exchange in round-eyed wonder. The man who had followed the wild boar with his eyes until it was out of sight then turned to face their way, and began to speak in a high-spirited tone. Hey, what are you guys up to, trouble? It's nothing, Ganju. I was just poking a bit of fun at this Shinigami who's ignorant of the ways of the world. Shuhei looked at the stern face of the man who Ginjo had called Ganju. Have you gotten into a dispute with the Shinigami? Jeez, I can understand your poor opinion towards the Shinigami, but you don't need to raise a riot. Don't say let bygones be bygones, but then suddenly go ahead and pick on a fight. Oh, excuse me. Don't say let bygones be bygones, but then suddenly go head on to pick a fight. It's distasteful. Listening to that, the gentleman with the eye patch inclined his head as he asked the question. Really? In Kukaku Dono's stories, I heard that when you met Kurosaki-san, you had a childish fight. Big sister talks too much. As he said that, the man who had the same face as the banner holding the statue seen just a short while ago pulled a wry expression. It was unmistakably, is that a word? It was unmistakably the person himself, the one he was looking for, facing Shiba Ganju. Hisagi then knit his eyebrows as if he was annoyed. Your timing is both good and bad. Huh? What's that, you jerk? Oh, if I'm not mistaken, you're the vice captain of some squad. Vice captain Hibachi? After an awkward silence, Ganju gives a firm nod. He presents Hibachi with a thumbs up and the same smile he had given his wild boar earlier. Long time no see, Vice Captain Hibachi. Vice Captain Hibachi was an acquaintance of Kuchiki Rukia. It's only one more character. Come on, you can do better. It's Hisagi Shuhei of the 9th Division. Hisagi Shuhei. Besides the shouting, Hisagi Ginjo let out a sigh as he released the pendant from the grip of his fingers. What's this? You guys know each other? Having confirmed that, the tense atmosphere was now completely demolished. Tsukishima also opens his book once again and turns his attention towards that. Oi, Shiba Ganju, what's the meaning of this? Do you and Kukaku-san know what kind of people these guys are? Isn't it obvious? We also know everything. Big Sis found these guys and took them all in as freeloaders. Freeloaders? Away from Shuhei, who was unable to make heads or tails of it, Ginjo and the others were trying to leave this place a step ahead. However, the sharp-sighted Ganju who detected that restrains them with his enigmatic, overbearing attitude. Hey, wait a minute. Where are you guys going? I don't know what happened between you and this vice captain brother here, but while I'm still alive, I will not allow suspicious grudges between the Shinigami and friends of the Shibas to be left behind. In contrast, with Ginjo's group turning to look back, seemingly troubled, and Hisagi's befuddled expression, Ganju's face is brimming with self-confidence as he spoke of his bright solution. Leave it up to the self-proclaimed Crimson Bullet of West Rukongai, the #1 self-proclaimed person who is most wanted to be called boss of West Rukongai for 17 consecutive years, and self-proclaimed former Shinigami hater, Ganju-sama. Former Shinigami hater. I'm sorry, guys, that's funny. Ganju was raising the tension all by himself, unable to comprehend how to respond to he who had just spat out a speech on his puzzling self-introductions. Shuhei, whose eyes had managed to stay open only halfway, could barely produce rational words. That last one, it's not particularly necessary to call yourself by that title if it's former, you know. This is bad. I'm not being dragged into some troublesome course of events, am I? Okay. A few hours later, Serete 1st Division Barracks. This has become troublesome, huh? Very much so. In response to those words issued from the mouth of the Captain Commander Kiraku Shunsui, the two vice captains who were before him, Issei Nanao and Okikiba Genshiro, exchanged a quick glance. The words Kiraku had spoken has half become a habitual saying, but from the tone of his voice, the vice captains Nanao and Okikiba could sense something was up. Although it is a difference in tone that can only be understood by those who are accustomed to hearing it, The Captain Commander's muttering "at present" was in a tone of voice that was used only when something truly unpleasant had happened. "What's the matter, Captain Commander?" At Nanao's words, Kyoraku releases a heavy sigh. Sorry. Did I make you anxious? You can jump into my chest if you want to stop your trembling, you know. I'm asking you seriously, Captain Commander. Oh, yes, well then, a while ago before Nanao-chan came, Nayuda-chan came to me with an escort. There was an official notice and request from Central 46. Amakaro Nayuda-sama came to you personally? Nanao also knows Nayuda. In Soul Society, the highest judicial body that guides the Shinigami as the mouthpiece for the Soul King and occasionally hands down judgment is the Central 46. Amakaro Nayura is the youngest among its constituent members. She is a young girl who only looks around 10 years of age in appearance. However, her shrewdness, which has existed longer than what meets the eyes, is acknowledged by both Kyoraku and Nanao. With her as the pivot, the Central 46, who prioritize nobility, were gradually changing. There is a conscious disparity between the status quo of the Shinigami and the Central 46, but that gap is gradually being filled by the pressure and encouragement of both her and Kyoraku. At least Nanao feels as such. Although it is a matter of balance, she was hoping that the judiciary would settle things in good form for the current position of the Shinigami and the nobles, or the commoners and all the inhabitants of Rukongai. From Nanao's standpoint, she wanted Kyoraku to hold back on referring to a member of the Central 46 with Chan attached to their name. But since there are many people associating with Nayura, who occasionally comes to visit by pretending to be a commoner, she also found herself inadvertently coming close to calling her Nayura-san. Kyoraku, who spoke the name of the young girl from Central 46 in such a way, let out a sigh with a look of slight discomfort. Not too long ago, a fairly troublesome incident occurred amongst one of the 4 great noble clans, although I think you've heard about that. Yes, it's regarding the assassins who invaded the Tsuneyashiro clan and murdered their family head, isn't it? The fact that the head of one of the 4 great noble clans and their household members had been massacred is a major incident that sends shockwaves through the Serite itself in peacetime. To make matters worse, there is also the fact that the confusion and disorder after the war has not completely settled down, and the official story that was declared took the form of their health came to harm out of anxieties during wartime. This epidemic took their lives. That is why the particulars of the case are only known by a handful of the higher-ups, even amongst the Gotei 13. Only a few people, including the Captain Commander Kyoraku and his vice captains and the Commander-in-Chief of the Onmitsukido of the Stealth Force, Soifon, have a full grasp on the outcome of things. While I suppose Captain Kurotsuchi and Yoroichi-chan know through their own independent routes, huh? Or rather, after such events, they probably knew things before me. Does this mean there is some issue with the subsequent succession of the clan head? I heard the general story from Nayura-chan, but the disputes between members of nobility is out of our jurisdiction. This is not for the Gotei 13. This falls under the classification of the Kinnin, the Golden Seal, noble assembly, at least for now. Nanao understood his intentions and narrowed her eyes at the implications behind Kyoraku's manner of speaking. For now, does that mean that the Gotei 13 will become involved in this situation? I hope it does not come to that. After Kyoraku replied with a somewhat distressed expression, he looked at the letter from Central 46 while continuing to speak. Also, won't you summon Kensei-kun and Shuhei-kun for me? Squad 9? It would be fine even if it was just Shuhei, but this problem must be carefully judged. So far as it goes, I think it's better to have the captains grasp the situations too. Meanwhile, at Shiba Kukaku's residence, suddenly, just as I thought I wouldn't get any excitement out of this, that Ichigo asshole, somehow stone statues materialized at our backs. I don't understand the sentence. Somehow stone statues materialized at our backs. Okay, I see. Me and Chad were in such high spirits in order to prepare the way home for Ichigo, and yet everything moved down a step. ahead to Serete on our back. What's the meaning of that, huh? That sentence is strange. The guest room in the basement of Kukaku's house. At the center was the figure of Ganju, who was making Hisagi listen to his complaints whilst gulping down his sake. Oh, his sake, excuse me. I'm gonna reread that. At the center was the figure of Ganju, who was making Hisagi listen to his complaints whilst gulping down his sake. Really? That Chad guy was saying Ichigo sees nothing but the path ahead, you know? But I never thought it would make me realize that in such a way. Damn it. Yes, I guess it was difficult, huh? Midway through his speech, Ganju received a firm kick from behind and was planted face first into the ground. Kukaku, the person who had dealt the kick, of course, spoke as she trampled on her fallen brother's back. Don't yap on so loudly. Your spirit was practically pathetic, wasn't it? Ugh, that's cruel, sis. Ah, you punk. Even though I've trained you for several years to be able to fight on the front lines till the bitter end, you managed to lose sight of your companions by losing your way on the road. What's the meaning of this? From whom did you hear that I got lost? Besides, it's Ichigo, that jerk. Ugh, will you cut it out? My spine is turning into sand. Sand! Ganju whined as Kukaku continued to relentlessly trample on her brother. Unable to comprehend how to deal with two such people, Hisagi, as if he was troubled himself, downed his sake. In the midst of that, Shuhei also shifts his attention towards a seated Ginjo that was at the corner of his eye. Earlier, Hisagi had been led to the guest room by forceful invitation of Ganju, who said, "Drinking sake will wash your grudges away." However, for the time being, he inquired about the relationship between Ginjo's group and Ganju. Before he knew it, he was stuck listening to the idle complaints of Ganju, who had gotten tipsy. Incidentally, Tsukishima did not partake in the drinking party. He was at the corner of the room, leaning against the wall whilst reading his book. En route here, the man with the eye patch who introduced himself as Giriko sank into the Shiba clan's kitchen, saying, "Allow me to prepare some snacks." Both Ginjo and Tsukishima are suspicious too, you know. From what I've heard, they managed to jump straight into Ichigo's location. Wasn't that unfair? It's unfair, isn't it? Ganju, who was released from under his sister's foot, changed the subject of his complaints to Ginjo. Dismissing Ganju's words with a nonchalant air, Ginjo drinks his sake in a refined manner while shrugging his shoulders. We traveled there directly with Yukio and Veruca's abilities. Yukio and Veruca. In response to Hisagi's muttering, Ginjo averts his eyes as he opens his mouth to speak. "Oh, I used to hang out with those guys in the human world. Unlike us, they're not dead. They came all the way to help Ichigo." For Ichigo? As an editor of the Serete Communication, he wanted to ask inquisitively about every detail surrounding that subject, but his wariness towards Ginjo did not readily allow that. Don't drink behind such a tight-fisted mask. You were told earlier, weren't you? Both me and Ganju have an understanding with those freeloaders. Even if we got cut up from behind, we don't bear grudges. But those guys, Jushiro would understand too. Eh? Kuku continued addressing Shuhei, who had held back the voice of protest at the back of his throat. Well, now that things have come to pass, he can't even attest to that. Wait a moment. So has Ginjo also met Jushiro-san? When Hisagi shifts his eyes towards Ginjo, he spoke whilst rolling his empty sake cup in hand. "I haven't met him. Honestly, I did not intend to meet him until things became troublesome here. It's different now? Well, even if I had met him, he would have probably been killed already, right? So why go that far? What exactly happened between Ukitake and Jiginjo, the first substitute Shinigami? At least as long as he found it impossible to dispel his vigilance, he would never come to know that. No matter what reason he may have, the fact remains that the man before his very eyes is the menace that has murdered Shinigami. However, Hisagi thinks with a little doubt or possibility... Oh, oops, sorry. Hey, Thomas, how you doing, man? However, Hisagi thinks with a little doubt, or possibly, fear harboring in his chest. Were it possible to think he could kill Ginjo by simply crossing blades with him here? Would it be possible to say he had struck down an enemy of the Shinigami out of duty to the Gotei 13? He tried to stop Captain Tosen's revenge himself. Is it not a mistake to rely on emotions to swing one's blade? Aizen's words from 6 months ago are called back to Hisagi's mind. What you're harboring is not hatred. It is merely sentimentality for your lost Tosen Kaname and the impression he left behind. That manner of speech may be correct in a sense. If he was asked whether or not he carried fragments of emotion through his own blade too, he would probably answer no. However, he couldn't simply turn a blind eye to Ginjo, being misled by the likes of Aizen's words and even losing sight of how to use his own blade would be reversing the logical order of things. Hisagi, who realized there was indecision and fear within himself, then quite conversely recovers the composure in his heart. Erasing the emotion from his face, as a member of the Gotei 13 who must assess threats to the Serete, he turned to face the man named Ginjo once again. Well, I certainly don't understand anything. For this reason, please enlighten me. What did the Shinigami... what did we do against you, the first substitute Shinigami? Having observed the situation, Ginjo raises one eyebrow in slight astonishment. He placed his sake cup down on the tabletop and replied, "Of course. Certainly, you're not seated as vice captain for nothing." Although laughing with great interest, Ginjo paused for a short moment before slowly shaking his head left and right. "I appreciate you confronting me seriously, but no matter what comes out of my mouth, isn't it unthinkable to digest what a dangerous character says? Why don't you talk to your captain commander? That, in its own way, is not fair. The captain commander isn't a person who would tell lies, but I am a journalist for the time being. I have to listen to both sides of the story for the sake of impartiality." A journalist's words have jumped out of a Shinigami's mouth. There are no rules that journalists must be fair in the first place. Fairness is the #1 priority. It is a policy I carry on from the former editor-in-chief. Hearing those words, Ginjo stifles his laughter. "You're a strange guy. At first glance, you look like nothing more than an ordinary Shinigami." I'll take that latter half as a compliment. "And so? What would you do if I was not able to convince you, even after I've told you the reason why I betrayed you all?" "I understand. In that case, I'll..." The voice of Kukaku, who had remained silent up until now, interrupted Hisagi's speech just as he was about to reply with resolve. "I don't mean to interrupt this discord between the Shinigami and the freeloaders, but if it comes to crossing swords, do it outside, got it?" "Yes, understood. We won't cause any trouble for you." Hisagi obediently nods. Ginjo accepts while shrugging his shoulders. The tension that was in the air fluctuated after a few seconds of silence. Ginjo opens his mouth to speak. "I guess I ended up deceiving Kurosaki Ichigo. So they say. I personally made Tsukishima alter my past. In that past, there was a half Shinigami who cooperated with us in order to remove the hollow powers from Fullbringers. It was supposed to be the case that the half Shinigami and our former comrades were killed by Tsukishima. Something Fullbringers like Ginjo have in common is that they each have a parent who was attacked by a hollow. Therefore, Shuhei had heard that they are born mixed with hollow powers and that it manifests as a unique ability called Fullbring. So, how was it that the original past was restored? There was no such half Shinigami guy similar to Ichigo. It suffices to say that I was the one who was undertaking the role of substitute Shinigami. Well then, who killed the former comrades that were in those memories? Wait. All that was down to Tsukishima's all that was down to Tsukishima's modified past too. Tsukishima's ability, Book of the End, allows Tsukishima to insert himself into another person's past. Although things such as memories and outcomes where Tsukishima was concerned can be inserted, as far as inserting people who don't exist, that's impossible. By the way, the guy who was thought to be half Shinigami was actually one of the Shinigami I killed in a rage. No way. Getting an unpleasant feeling, Hisagi gulped. Tsukishima, who is at the corner of the room, lifts his eye up from his book to glance at the scene between Ginjo and Hisagi. He noticed that Ganju was in no mood to interrupt, silently straining his ears to listen to the conversation of the other two. Kugaku had an expression as if to say, "It's no concern of mine," but slightly out of the ordinary, she was quietly gulping down her sake. An uncomfortable silence dominated Shuhei's surroundings. Then it was the words of a dark-eyed Ginjo that killed that silence. "It's the Shinigami who killed the comrades from my past." Silence and a chilling air fills the place once more. However, Shuhei, who couldn't stomach that, shook his head as he tried to stand up. "Wait. Well then, why did you say it was Jushiro's fault?" "Come now. I noticed the secret of the substitute badge at the time. I don't have to tell you the rest for you to understand it, do I?" Hisagi recalled the conversation from a little earlier to mind. "It's merely a matter of protesting against Jushiro-san once you've noticed it, huh?" Although he was unaware of the circumstances, he realized how beside the point his own words were. He was seized with a feeling of shame. "I see. I couldn't swallow your story just yet, but earlier I was in the wrong." "I don't give a damn. It made me laugh, didn't it?" After mixing in a bit of playful banter, Ginjo continued talking some more. "On the day I repaid my debt to Ichigo at the Soul King Palace, I planned to meet Jushiro. I wondered just how far his orders went. In any case, I had no trust in him from the onset. Why did my full-brain comrades have to be killed? But it's a funny story. I searched for Jushiro, prepared to clash swords with him in the worst-case scenario, but he was not in a state where one could talk to him anymore." Hisagi tried to say something, but his words wouldn't come out properly. In his mind, the scene of the moment Tosen is killed by Aizen plays back to him. At that time, Shuhei was certainly able to exchange words with Kaname in his final moments. However, just before they were about to cross that path together once more, Tosen was cruelly murdered at the hands of Aizen. Hisagi, too, had forever lost that opportunity to exchange words with his opponent. Seeing the look on Shuhei's face, who had remembered such a thing, Ginjo clicked his tongue as he released a sigh. Yo, they need to stop sighing. For real. Alright, Alright, here we go. Alright, I've said more than what's necessary, and I'm pretty drunk. Please wait. If that's true... Midway through his sentence, a noise played out from the Shinigami mobile device that was in his pocket. When he took it out and checked it, there was a familiar convocation notice there. "This isn't good. It's a call to a meeting from the 1st Division. You were summoned with this timing? Oh, I never. Are you also being monitored from above?" "Perhaps if it was Captain Kurotsuchi, the Captain Commander wouldn't... Still, I guess it may seem like I'm being monitored, but I'm nevertheless merely fulfilling my duties." Shuhei rises from his seat. Finally, he speaks to Ginjo in a blunt manner. "It doesn't necessarily mean that I take you completely at your word. I don't want to believe that my colleagues carried out such atrocities in the human world with no motive, but I will get to the bottom of the story because I am a Shinigami and at the same time, I am Editor-in-Chief of Serite Communication. You can count on me." Anyways, we'll talk again soon, and Ganju, please let me know next time the sake is on me. Lastly, Shuhei bowed to Kukaku and left the Shiba residence. Hearing the noise of a bike engine echoing in the distance, Tsukishima, who was silent up until then, raised his voice whilst his eyes were turned towards his book. "That's rare for you, Ginjo, to tell that story himself." "Yeah, I finally lost my edge, haven't I?" After talking jokingly, Ginjo stares at the empty space with a serious expression. I guess he's a serious Shinigami. Reminiscent of the Gotei 13, indeed. Whether I doubted such a guy would respond to my story with honesty or not, well, let's just say instead of Jushiro, who's gone now, I probably just wanted someone to vent my frustrations at. Then Giriko appeared holding a plate, saying, "Oh, even though I prepared snacks, the Shinigami gentleman has already left." "Yeah, I suppose he's a punctual guy. He was in such a hurry." "I see. That is a wonderful thing, because the flow of time is an absolute law that remains as unchangeable in the human world as it does the Rukongai as well as Serite. On any account, if the Shinigami call themselves gods, then it's only a natural matter of course to abide by that rule." Elsewhere, From the Fullbringers who were having that conversation, Ganju posed a question to his sister, who was unusually quiet as she drank. Say, the big sis, what do you actually think? I don't know, I told you, didn't I? It's not something we can poke our noses into, even if we wanted to. We're not even Shinigami ourselves. I wonder if Big Brother knew something. That Big Brother was Kaien Shiba, who served as Jushiro's lieutenant before the collapse of the Shiba clan. Due to his death, and the disappearance of Kurosaki Isshin, who was a descendant of a branch of the main house, their noble status was ousted. However, even now, Ganju considered his big brother the pride of the Shiba clan. Recalling the face of her older brother who was already dead and gone, Kukaku cast down her eyes to her sake cup, whilst forming her words. Who knows? The Shinigami are looking away in order to protect Sarate. As with that Aizen bastard, the Shinigami are probably becoming all kinds of thick-skinned against the scoundrels created by the Sarate itself. 1 hour later, 1st Division Head Office. Ugh, you're late, Shuhei. Just how far did you come from? My apologies, Captain. I went up to the Shiba Kukaku-san's place in West Rukongai to collect information. Kukaku? Oh, Kaien's younger sister. When Hisagi enters the office, the captain of the 9th Division, Kensei, is already waiting there to ready to receive orders. Then Kyoraku made an appearance from the opposite side of the door. Hello there. It's wrong of me to ask you here when you're so busy, isn't it? Seeing the Captain Commander raise one hand in greeting with his usual rhythm, Kensei spoke up. So what's going on, Captain Commander? Is there any particular reason why it's only the 9th Division that's been summoned here? Well, it's kind of a matter that involves Sarate communication. Huh? If so, then why am I here? Kensei is the captain of the 9th Division, but he is not involved in editing the magazine at all. Just a few days ago, he was resting in order to treat his zombified flesh, and for a short while he was in a position where he was not even aware of the current state of the Sarate communication. Well, in fact, I was told from the higher-ups that there is something they want you to officially announce directly in Sarate communication. Therefore, I think it's better to also pass this on to you, the captain. Official announcement? Is it from the 0 Division? No, it's from Central 46, the group of nobles behind the Central 46 to be exact. Saying that, Kyoraku turns his eyes to Shuhei for a moment and continues to speak of the matter. Actually, it's been decided so that one of the 4 great noble clans is to install a new clan head. The matter has already passed through the governmental district as a formality. The new clan head has not by now been instated. But very much at the request of that new clan head, it appears that he wants to publicize his own inauguration extensively throughout Soul Society. Damn it. Why does it always have to be about self-indulgent nobles, Kensei said, looking rather bored. Although there is the exception known as Shihon Yoruichi, basically, it is known only too well that the nobles are unable to cooperate with others. Kensei was rapidly losing interest in the matter, as the subject also concerned Sarate communication. On the other hand, Hisagi continues the conversation with a look that says he's not quite sure on some aspects. Around how many pages will it take? From the onset, the first reissue is still scheduled several months ahead, and it commences with a special feature that looks back on the protection of the Soul King Great War. So the balance with that will... It seems he wants you to produce an extra special edition. He wants you to distribute it widely as far as Rukongai. Special edition? Why, that's 50% more XP! If we were to completely set up the publishing systems right away, the sort of budget required for that would be awfully... The inauguration of a new clan head from one of the 4 noble clans is big news in it itself. However, because the highest ranking being is the Soul King, it is great to go ahead... Oh, let me see where we'll be at. However, because the highest ranking being is the Soul King, it is rare to go as far as issuing extra special editions, even in the case of things such as auspicious events and times of mourning related to the 4 great noble clans. Of course, unexpected budgets are sometimes required, and if it was being distributed widely up to Rokongai, then there is also the potential for that alone to bypass the annual budget. Hisagi pondered how he could possibly get by on that budget whilst groaning in frustration. But then, with a plop, Kyoraku placed his his hand on Hisagi's shoulder as he smiled. My bad, I thought it was Rangaku for a second with a little plop, you know. You can rest assured, since it appears that the budget will be completely handled by that noble clan. Really? Oh, if that's the case, Hisagi considered it an opportunity to use the special edition and advance notice of the resumption of the publishing as a pretext to broaden subscriptions to the usual edition of the magazine. In Hisagi's mind, he began to weigh up the benefits and implications of which differed from just a moment ago. However, as if to pull him back to reality, Kyoraku's smiling face then clouded over. And that noble, who was the new clan head. Is something wrong, Captain Commander? I'm speaking about Tsuneyashiro's clan. Tokinada. You understand, right? The blood vessels in Shuhei's body pulsated frantically. Tsuneyashiro Tokinada. Hisagi had already known that name, with the objective to bring Kaname, who once ran counter to the correct path, back to the other side. In an attempt to learn even a little more about him, Hisagi closely investigated Tosen's past for some time. The details of the incident in which Kaname's close friend was killed was gruesome. Her husband at the time considered the idea of imprisonment mere folly. He continued to live his life comfortably without even being sufficiently punished. Hold on a moment. Surely that man is supposed to be at the lower end of the branch family? Well, he's risen to the top. Factors such as the time Aizen massacred Central 46 and the disorder born out of the last war worked to his advantage, no doubt. Furthermore, last week the head of the Tsuneyashiro clan and the surrounding family members were murdered by assassins, one by one. Captain? Nanao, who had remained silent beside him up till then, raises her voice. After the assassination scandal of the Tsuneyashiro clan, martial law was declared. Nanao couldn't imagine it a good idea to carelessly reveal information to Hisagi even though he held the position of vice captain. However, holding out a hand to silence Nanao's protest, Kyoraku daringly continued to speak. I won't speak from conjecture. Nevertheless, those assassins were completely wiped out by Tsuneyashiro Tokinada alone. With that meritorious deed in hand, he was then promoted from the lineage of the branch family. Conveniently enough, no members of the branch family had passed away. That's what I was told. Contrary to Kyoraku's opening remark, no matter who was listening, it was like they were all hit by a stream of understanding about the true culprit behind the assassination scandal and his goals. Of course, Shuhei was no exception, and he gradually raised his eyebrows in discomfort during the course of the conversation. I also know about him. I think you understand already, but he is a man who can do those sorts of things without compunction. At those words, not only Shuhei, but even Nanao and Kensei expressed a little surprise, judging by Okikiba, who maintained a deep silence. It seemed he agrees with Kyoraku's words, too. Hisagi and Nanao were surprised because those current words did not seem likely to be the speech and conduct of the usual Kyoraku, who seldom speaks poorly of others. Whether or not he noticed that scene, a self-mocking, wry smile played on Kyoraku's face as he formed his words. I don't like it. Not even I am a man of noble character. Let's hope this is only a matter of one or two men who do not see eye to eye. Then Kyoraku's smile disappeared once again. He threw a question at Shuhei with a serious look in his eye. To sum it up, you have been instructed to put out a special edition celebrating him, Tsuneyashiro Tokinada, his inauguration. Shuhei, can you do it? And that is the end of chapter 2. Yeah, when does Shuhei start doing the Daily Bugle, bro? The fuck? And I'm not even sure who this Okikiba is. Third seats. Oh, okay. Co-lieutenant. with Nana. Oh, 1,000-year Blood War arc. Okay, so he's not even like shown until then. Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, I do not even know who this is. Ay. Oh, a pretty long chapter. It's already been an hour. Jesus. Okay. I have to be at church by 7. I leave at like 6:45. Pick that up. Okay, that shouldn't be too bad. All right. They do a lot of sighing. Yo, them sighing was putting me to sleep. Like, I'm not even joking. Yeah, I'm sorry I was like yawning and like fumbling up, guys. Like, I've been up since like 4 a.m. Did I sleep? No, I didn't go back to sleep after 4 a.m. I've just been working. They do a lot of eyebrow raising. And yeah, and sighing. Feels bad, man. Chojiro, except even less relevant. Clearly. Why is he co-lieutenant then? I don't get it. Alright, well, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. Is there anything you guys want to discuss? The whole talk about Ginjo and stuff like that caught me for a loop because, like, I didn't watch the Fullbring arc, which I should. Just don't really have time. And then people were saying, like, I could skip the Fullbring arc because it was kind of boring. Or kind of, like, unnecessary. Like, besides him getting his power back, I don't know. Bro, I just woke up from a nap. You can't make me take another one? Hey, Utsudo, how you doing, man? I don't know if you're still here, bro. Right, I'll put this over here. Put this over here. Ginjo didn't do nothing. Let me see. I'm just gonna move this over here and try to read up on that. No, you shouldn't skip any of the canon material. Yeah, I know I shouldn't. But, like, let me see. I worked from 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. Ate from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Worked from 12 p.m. until I started talking to Angie, Sharky. I don't know when Sharky got, like, when me and her started talking. How much orbs do you have grinded? Maybe like 750. I think we can change the music too. Oh yeah, I have like 728. I did like, think like 3 or 4 singles on this banner because I'm 1 out of 3. And I wouldn't hate getting a Marachio, but I would really like the Izuru, and getting a Hiyori dupe would not be, getting a Hiyori would not be bad. I think I still have story. Exposed A. Nah, you'll be fine, baby. Alright, oh, I guess we can do co-op for a little bit. I'd have to get going sometime soon. Oh, the Mayuri's out? Oh, and the Aizen's out. Jesus, okay. Oh, you got 1 Carib's? Nice. Oh, speaking of that, I need to buy the Tokyo Game Show pack and the Potion pack before that gets reset. If that thing is even open. Oh, I shouldn't have did that, whatever. I don't even think I have any viewers right now. Well, not many anyways. Let me see. It's so quiet. Damn, only 21 people. Interesting. Yeah, I went from like 150 the first one, and then to like 50, and now it's like 20. Yo, what's up, Brath? How you doing, man? Hey, Recon, I see you. Oh, Recon, you lurking? Oh, your boy Grave Shiro. Feels bad, man. Boom, boom. It's because you're competing with Cowboy, probably. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, he finally can stream again. Pfft. Yeah, we not trying to get them strikes, boy. Manjoi set. Who do you want the most out of Ichigo chat, or just Ichigo? I don't really care too much for like anybody else, really. Like, it's nice, but like it's not really that big a deal for me. Like, most of these characters are good, and for the most part, I have like, maybe not, if I don't have like the best characters for like the attribute, I have most of the top tier ones, so I'm not really in need of anything, you know what I mean? Let me see if we could find... There's like nothing here. Does the past of Jushiro get explained too? Or is that me just like wishful thinking? There we go. It's talked about in the Fullbring art. Okay. Does it get explained or is it just like talked about? But you sure it doesn't show up? Okay. Yeah, I need to read most of the material. Damn, I want to see what these characters are gonna look like. Like in terms of like stats and the skills. Just read Ginjo's wiki page? Okay, I'll do that then. Oh yeah, and I got my new phone too, so I can probably start streaming again from this. Oh, my brother just messaged me. My brother's like, today's the only day I can go and watch My Hero Academia 2 Heroes, but I have church, so I'll probably just go tomorrow. I was hoping that they would have had a like a morning thing. It's a skip if no speed DR. I don't know, Ichigos are usually pretty good. Ichigos usually change the game. Except for Hell vs Ichigo, who I still think is trash. I don't like Hell vs Ichigo. You gotta go somewhere tomorrow. Alright, yo, take care, Wrath. You have a go, man. Fuck the Ichigo? Nah, bro. I hope these characters don't get... Most characters nowadays don't really get shafted, though. Like, it's very rare for a character to get shafted nowadays. Oof, can't edit. Nah, no, you can't edit. That's why people usually just, like, recant their entire, like, comments, which is kind of annoying. And Movie 1 Ichigo didn't change the game at all. What are you talking... Bro. How are you gonna tell me? Movie Ichigo was the second 14 strong attack recharge character in the game. Come on, man. That's strong attack recharge for Halloween Yoruichi. Or Unohana, if you didn't ever get Chappies. I actually like the movie Ichigo. Most of these movie Ichigo, but now that I think about it, then it means that the movie Ichigos didn't do anything. But Tag Team Ichigo is very, very good even now. Dangai Ichigo definitely changed the game when he came out. Full Hollow Ichigo changed the game when he originally was released, not on a 6-star. Movie Ichigo at least was a strong link. He's okay, but he's not game-changing. But neither was Hell vs Ichigo. And then you have 1000 Year Blood War Bankai, no, 1000 Year Blood War Shikai Ichigo, who I'd argue is one of the best Ichigos in the game, especially with his NAD. Like a ranged tech flurry character. That's ridiculous. Along with that, he has a vortex too. It's stupid. And then he has a full screen strong attack. All of his shit guard breaks. And at worst, his first strong attack still pushes his enemies away and still guard breaks them. So like I still think that he's incredibly good. And then you have Bankai Ichigo, who, well, actual Bankai Ichigo, who's like strong attack, recharge, Soul Reaper killer, full screen strong attack. It could be infinite boost if you don't have if you have the links for it. You know what I'm saying? What is this? The hell? What's this one? Which one is this one? Oh, the forest. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, like, we'll see what goes on, man. Like, I'm really hoping that this Ichigo is game changing, but I honestly cannot think of a way that they can make it game changing. For every single color, we have a character that's already relatively OP, right? So for heart, we have Kaname, Ichigo, Unohana. For mind, we have Shinji. I don't really like Sajin, but I mean, it's a flurry, you know. What do we got? There's got to be something decent in mind, right? I gotta be fucking around. You have Yuha Baha, White Zangetsu's glorious. Shuhei's okay. I like White Zangetsu more. Shinji's good. Oh yeah, I actually always forget about Baragon. Baragon's still amazing, dude. Yeah, so that's 3 right there. Maybe we can start coming out with more strong attack recharge 14% links. They could also give him like, they could also give him 2 soul traits. That's gonna be the way of the future. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. They're already starting to do it with the whole resurrection thing. But I don't know. I don't know. I was planning on making a video on the progression of this game because I feel like this game has a lot of people. The game's progression has been relatively slow, but they put out very huge updates in a very little amount of time. Like I do feel like the 6-star upgrade was very gradual, but everything after that, like the Hogyoku Will update, the Yuki Pupples update, the Fortification Pill and Hollow Bait update, like the gold accessories, like all these updates that we're getting nowadays are very huge game impacting updates, which is crazy. And you can't tell me that this ticket update was not a huge thing. Even PvP. You remember how you used to close your app so that you could keep your PvP tickets because you got 5 PvP tickets a day, not counting the orders, which would make it 10. Now it's like constantly recharging every 2 hours, every 2 hours, every 2 hours, every 2 hours. So you could potentially get what? 2 hours, 24. You could potentially get 12 PvP tickets a day as opposed to 5. So like, that's definitely a good thing. I think it's a good thing, personally. Akon is best mind character. I mean, they have a farmer for every single like color too, man. It's crazy. And tech, what do we have for tech? You have Soifon. You have the 1000-Year Bloater, Ichigo. I'm trying to think of like the new characters that are out, which are pretty busted. Like Fullbring Ichigo is still good. You know what I mean? Red. Renji, Toshiro. Red, Toshiro, yeah, Yamamoto. Oh yeah, green has Yamamoto too, and flies. And you see, like, there's already very game-breaking characters. We already have an infinite boost for speed. We have an infinite boost for heart now with Mashiro, even though I don't really like Mashiro. But oh no, you have Ichigo. What the fuck am I talking about? Boom. Okay, you have Ichigo. You have Mashiro. You have Ruruka, you have Renji, you have, who do we have for tech? Oh, Aizen, we just talked about him. Power, what do we have for power? Oh, we're missing a power, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, if we're missing a power or not. And mind, we have, I'm pretty sure we have a mind booster, but I can't think of his name. Let me see. We don't have a mind or power. We don't? He said for crystal links. What? The hell are you talking about? Let me see. Assault trait. Strong attack recharge. What the reduce strong attack cooldown. And then mind and tech. No, we have tech power. Okay. There we go. Okay. I know that we have boost, but I don't know if we have infinite boost. Which we might not. I don't. No, we don't. We don't have. Okay. Interesting. We might get it. I mean, it's possible that we'll get like an infinite boost for Red or Mind. I wouldn't put it past it. If they do another infinite boost Ichigo though, I feel like that'd be too soon, in my opinion, personally. We have infinite boost for tech, speed, and heart. Yeah, yeah, we got that. That's what I was trying to think if there was one for mind or power, but I guess suppose we don't. But alright guys, I'm gonna call it a stream. Thank y'all for joining me. This reading will be unlisted. If you want to read the book by yourself, guys, the link will be in the description. I have it in the description below. Maybe Chad. Oh yeah, there was another. Oh yeah. So I was thinking about doing another shirt. Hold up. Let me show you this, guys. Tell me if you like this, because I thought it was pretty cool. Why are you being sus? Okay, there we go. I'll do it here. I got spite. What are you guys talking about? Does spite have diff ek? What? I never want to use it. What the fuck? Babe, I don't know what you guys are doing. Ah, here we go. So I was thinking about doing this as a shirt. Oh, oops. There you go. It's like the Mass Saiyan. With like Super Saiyan Rose with like a hollow mask. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah. That's what I was working on. But I don't know if I want to put words under or if I just want to make it a shirt. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Ooh, I'll think about that some other time. But alright. We'll leave it at that. Thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go pick up Ni no Kuni 2. We will start streaming that tomorrow. I'm gonna alternate between reading Can't Fear Your Own World and Ni no Kuni just so I can play something, because I want to play something, and apparently Splatoon. Me and my girl tried to play Splatoon 2, and that thing is trash. The connection is doo-doo. We played for like 20 seconds, and then we get kicked from the lobby. It's garbage. But thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. Are we missing a red unit with the crystal soul trait? Red unit with crystal soul trait? Do we really not have a red unit with crystal soul trait? You're right. You're right. We'll see what they do with that. Take care, y'all. See y'all in the next one.